Back in 1999, after Mario and Link had successfully made their jump to 3D years prior, it was time for one of Nintendo's biggest franchises to make that leap into the third dimension. That franchise was Pokémon. But the first Pokémon game on N64 wasn't a typical turn-based RPG, and it didn't even contain the iconic catching or battling the series was known for. All your favorites of the original 151 wouldn't be able to duke it out in 3D until a year later. No, Pokémon made its console debut with a photography simulator called Pokémon Snap. With a sequel now on the horizon, there's never been a better time to give this game a shot. So is Pokémon Snap a picture-perfect masterpiece, or does it end up feeling a little underdeveloped? Let's find out. Pokémon Snap is very unique. If I had to describe it, I'd say it's an on-rail shooter puzzle game. You'll be taking the 01, an all-terrain vehicle developed by Professor Oak, to move through courses on Pokémon Island, snapping pictures of various Pokémon to show to the professor. The puzzle elements come into play when taking your photos. It's not just about taking any old photo, Professor Oak has high standards. You'll need to use the tools at your disposal to find ways to get Pokémon into the perfect position if you want the most points for your photos. And lots of Pokémon can only be found and photographed if you solve puzzles to make them appear. For example, if you lure Magnemite together, they'll form Magneton. Or if you hit Charmeleon into this lava here, he'll evolve into Charizard. Pokémon Snap manages to add some interesting little puzzles to solve while still providing the reaction and timing-based mechanics of your typical rail-based arcade shooter. So let's go ahead and start up the game. We've got to make our Pokémon photographer card first. I tried following Oak's directions, but your name doesn't fit, so screw it. We're Pabigum now. Professor Oak tells us we're here on the island to help him photograph wild Pokémon and finish up his Pokémon report. I'm not sure why the Pokémon professor needs some random kid to get him Pokémon photos. Does he not just have any, lying around somewhere? What's the point of this Pokémon report anyways?
I'm not wearing pants.
No matter, let's just get down to business and head to the beach. Taking pictures of Pokémon is pretty simple. Move the camera around, press Z to zoom in, and A takes the shot. You can also press A to do it, whatever the hell that means, Professor Oak. It's cool to think that this was the first time we ever saw Pokémon in 3D. It's not much of a big deal these days, but I still really like the more kind of jagged look these models have. The newer Pokémon models have always looked a bit too smooth and lifeless to me. I'm not really a huge fan. I personally prefer the fantastic original art instead typically, and these models kind of match that more to me. Either way, Pokémon Snap's presentation isn't half bad. One thing you'll notice as you move through the level is that there are a lot of Pokémon you can't quite get a good picture of, and some aren't even recognized when you snap a photo. Many of the Pokémon will have to be woken up or lured over using some tools we'll get access to later. So we snap some pictures of various Pokémon, reach the goal, and take a look at the photos we've got. You can only select one photo of each Pokémon to submit to Professor Oak, so you've got to go through what you took and try to find the best shot. Every picture you take is rated by Oak, and he'll tally up the points based on size and pose and various other factors. If you want to get a good score, you've got to get shots of Pokemon up close and try to get a shot of them in a unique pose like using a Pokemon move or sleeping. If you can manage to get the Pokemon in the center of the frame, Oak will also double your points. There are some ways to earn a bit of extra bonus points too, like photographing multiple Pokemon in the same image or capturing a special event. I managed to get a photo of Pidgey using Gust on Meowth here, which gave me some extra points on top of the other bonuses. Trying to get the perfect size and pose all while making sure you're in the center is pretty fun. I love seeing all the little points get tallied up and added to your total at the end. It just feels really satisfying. So after our first course, we get to move on to the second, this time being a dark tunnel. The first trip through isn't too crazy, you snap some more pictures of new Pokemon and move on. However, just at the end you'll run into some Magnemite, which you can't seem to get a photo of. As soon as we return back to the lab, Professor Oak gives us access to Pokemon food to help us get closer with Pokemon, although typically I just use it to bully them repeatedly. This is the typical progression structure of the game. You'll go through a course, get a new tool or upgrade to use, and to unlock the next course you'll have to accomplish something in previous levels. Sometimes you have to go back with new tools to find hidden Pokemon and fill up the report, other times you'll need to interact with objects in the level and find secret exits. In the instance of the tunnel course, we can chuck some food at this electrode to clear the way. I missed the exit plenty of times because I kept getting distracted trying to get a good photo of Magneton. Backtracking through a level can be a bit of a drag at times, but you can easily restart if you screw something up, and an upgrade later will help fix this issue. Now that we've blown up the boulder in the tunnel, we can access the volcano stage. I consider the first two levels a bit of a tutorial, but the volcano is where stuff really starts to open up. There are a ton of cool Pokemon and photos to take here. You've got to play around with Pokemon food and act quickly to get perfect shots. You can even knock this egg into the lava to free Moltres. If you hit this Magmar, he'll evolve Charmander into Charmeleon. I managed to get this shot of the Magmar fighting, and of course if you manage to knock Charmeleon into this pit of lava here, Charizard will emerge. The beach and tunnel are a good introduction, but Volcano is where the game really starts to shine. Next up is the river stage, which can be pretty tricky. It's a very quick course where you don't have a lot of time to line up shots how you want them. You'll have to be quick to get good shots of Pokemon leaping out of the water. You can also evolve Slowpoke into Slowbro here if you lure it to the fishing area. Bit of a fun fact for you, this is the only time you can see Slowpoke evolving as the Pokédex describes, by fishing up a shelter. Once again, Professor Oak rewards our efforts with the Pester Ball. If throwing food at Pokemon wasn't cruel enough, now we just tear gas them. I'm beginning to think this man is not qualified to be a professor at all. Now we can go back to the river course and use the Pester Ball to disturb resting Porygon. One of which lands on this switch here to open up another course for us. Porygon is actually my favorite Pokemon. I mean, just look at the little guy. Anyways, now we can move on to the cave stage. There are Ditto disguised as Bulbasaur here, and some Grimer in the background, and even a poor Jigglypuff being chased by coughing. If you manage to rescue it, Jigglypuff will do a little bit of a performance at the end of the cave. I love all the little secrets in this game you can find just by trying to take a picture of specific Pokemon or just hit everything around you. We pass by another egg, which I have to assume contains Articuno, but we can't wake it up quite yet. There's also this Pikachu that's being floated around by Zubat, and man, it just gets me every time. It looks so ridiculous. Finally, we end up in the valley, which is probably my favorite stage. There's just a lot of cool Pokemon to spot here if you know what you're doing. There's a Magikarp you can launch throughout the stage and eventually into a waterfall to get it to evolve into Gyarados. You can lure Dragonite out of this whirlpool. It's just got a lot of great opportunities for cool shots and all sorts of neat Pokemon. I managed to launch this Mankey onto a switch, but instead of entering a new stage, we find Professor Oak. Apparently he's here looking for Pokemon signs, which are landmarks that look like Pokemon. There are landmarks throughout the levels that resemble Pokemon, 6 specifically. I think I remember seeing 1 or 2 of them. Professor Oak gives us the Dash Engine, which lets us move quickly throughout levels to hunt for these Pokemon signs, as well as the Pokeflute to let us interact with Pokemon in some new ways. Now that we have some new tools and Pokemon signs to hunt for, it's time to head back through the levels, look for the Pokemon signs, use the Pokeflute to find more Pokemon, and increase that sweet, sweet score. Normally backtracking like this would be a bit frustrating, but Pokemon Snap's courses are really fun to go through again, trying to improve your score and snap better pictures of Pokemon, especially with the new tools we have access to. As I move throughout the previous courses, we snap a photo of Kingler Rock, Pinsir Shadow, Coughing Smoke, Cubone Tree, Mewtwo Constellation, and finally, Dugtrio Mountain. After collecting all this data and returning to Professor Oak, he realizes that these Pokemon signs appear to mimic some of the constellations. So the only logical course of action is to send a child into space to look for rare Pokemon. Okay, you maniac. Sure enough, we get access to the final level, Rainbow Cloud. Up here we have to duke it out with Mew, all while a song reminiscent of the one in the intro plays. That musical callback here is such a great touch. We've got to throw enough Pester Balls so Mew will drop his shield and we can snap a good picture. And gotcha! Can't wait to see what Oaks thinks of these.
You were close.
What? Not very good? It's the mythical Pokemon Mew. I did the best I could. Whatever. With that, the credits roll and we get a good look at some of the photos we took along the way. Before I get into my final thoughts, I do want to spend some time to mention some of the criticisms I have. First off, the game itself is pretty short. Normally this isn't a huge issue, as the arcade nature makes it highly replayable, but the challenge scores don't add much incentive in my opinion to keep you going through courses. If you don't care about higher scores, the game has nothing left for you. In addition, of the original 151, only 63 Pokemon appear. That's less than half. I don't think the game should have given you 8 more courses to go through to find them all after the credits, but I think it could have greatly increased replayability if they added some more Pokemon in every course that appeared only after the credits, and maybe 1 or 2 bonus courses just to get us closer to that 151. Pokemon Stadium had all 151 Pokemon, and then Pokemon Stadium 2 went on to increase that count to nearly 250. Thankfully, leaving out over half the Pokemon is something only a spin-off would do. Could you imagine if a full Pokemon RPG didn't include all the Pokemon models, and therefore Sub wouldn't be able to be transferred, and then they'd sell more Pokemon as DLC? Oh, thank God we don't live in that timeline. Overall, my main complaints with Snap simply was that there wasn't more of it to enjoy. The game looks good for an N64 title, the music was catchy and memorable, and the gameplay had just enough depth to make it deeply enjoyable. Overall, I spent about 6 hours in Pokémon Snap, but man, I loved every minute of it. This is definitely the kind of game where you could just sit down one afternoon, beat it, and then do it all over again later. It's super replayable, and with the robust scoring system it has, I bet it'd be a ton of fun to play through it alongside friends, seeing who can beat the game with the best score. Being an arcade style of game, the gameplay itself isn't super complex, and the story is definitely bare bones, but the simple and addictive gameplay makes it such a fun game to play through over and over again. This may be my first experience with Pokémon Snap, but it certainly won't be my last. I had an absolute blast playing through it, and I'm pretty proud of some of the photos I managed to take. There's still some more things to mention though. For example, did you know that back in the day you could go to Blockbuster and print out your favorite photos as stickers? This was such a cool concept, but obviously these things aren't around anymore. However, if you owned Pokémon Snap for the Wii Virtual Console, you could send your photos to the Wii message board, which is a really cool addition. There really isn't a game like Pokémon Snap, and until recently, I didn't think there ever would be. There are several games that feature photography, but nothing comes close to the arcade style of Snap, which I think is why so many people still cherish this game today. Luckily, we've got new Pokémon Snap on the horizon. I'm curious to see how they'll update Pokémon Snap for the more modern era. Look forward to a video on that whenever the game ends up releasing. I can see why this game ended up winning the viewer poll. There's obviously a lot of love for it. But the game in second place is in a pretty similar position. Enough people asked for it, so why the hell not? Let's give it a shot too. Look forward to the Simpsons Hit and Run review coming soon. But before that, I've got a really special project I've been working on for a long time now that will be releasing first. Hopefully you shouldn't have to wait too much. I'm absolutely thrilled to reveal this upcoming series of videos. Shouldn't be too much longer. Thank you so much for watching the video. Before you go, I'd like to ask that you would consider subscribing to the channel, or if you already have, share it with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to help me grow right now. If you really like what I do, consider checking out my Patreon page. And hey, let me know what your favorite Pokemon is and why in the comments below. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.